What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/AmITheButtHole. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that subscribe button, maybe that notification bell too. And before we do jump into today's stories, I just want to say some thank yous to some rejoins and some new members. So we'll start off with rejoins from Katie Smith, Sus H, Mitz the One Kid, Jack Attack MG, and new members Katie Giannakoulis, Roger Toledo with the upgrade, Lily Winter, and a cheeky little join over on Patreon from Mary B. Thank you so much for your support. I think some of those did come from the stream we had the other day. Whew, it was a time, let me tell you. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from I Tried OK 123, titled, "Am I the Arsehole for not accommodating my brother's vegan fiancé?" Full disclosure, I do eat meat, eggs and dairy. That being said, I'm lazy and prepping and cooking meat takes more than I'm willing to do a lot of the time. So I've built up a pretty okay repertoire of vegetarian and vegan meals. That's why I volunteered to cook last night for a small family dinner, even though I would normally never. Love my mum to bits, but if it's the first step isn't browning a pound of ground beef, she's a little lost on what to make. This is all a thing because my brother has recently gotten engaged to a vegan woman. None of us has really spent a lot of time with her due to the pandemics and generally having our own lives. The time I've spent with her has been perfectly nice. I thought this would also be perfectly nice. So I did my best. I put together a Dijon vinaigrette salad, pasta tossed with roasted asparagus and cherry tomatoes. And because this is America, where carb on carb doesn't have to be just a dream, some bread I fucking vetted to make sure it didn't have milk or eggs in it. She could eat every single thing served. At least, I thought so. We sat down, plates are dished, she has questions. Whatever, fair enough. I can imagine that she's been in situations where things seem safe to eat, but surprise, there's honey in the salad dressing or something. Reassurances are made, I did my homework, but she has other complaints. You roasted the veggies in olive oil. There's olive oil in the salad dressing. The pasta isn't whole wheat. This is white bread. Yes, vegan, all of it, but not stripped down to as few calories as possible. And now she won't eat. Just sat there and tore one of the rolls up into tiny pieces until the table was cleared. My brother texted me later that night about how fucked up it was that she had to go home hungry. And this is where I may be the arsehole. I replied something in the effect of saying I thought that I had to cook to accommodate veganism, not an eating disorder. He told me to go fuck myself, which, again, fair. Now I imagine a cold war is brewing and mum is inevitably going to get sucked in. I also could have tried to make something healthier, though I don't think what I served was bad. Am I the arsehole? Now I think this is going to be a pretty clear not the arsehole to me. I certainly couldn't see anything wrong with the dishes that you said you prepared. To me anyway, maybe there is something that I'm missing there, but you just working with the information that you was given at the time, and you cooked which sounded like a really lovely meal that was really thought out for that person to accommodate that person, and the fact that they didn't even try anything when they could have eaten it makes them the arsehole in this situation. Then your brother coming to you and saying it was effed up that she had to go home hungry. What was you meant to do in that situation? You was working with the information that you got. Your brother should have gave you more information about it. Girlfriend could have given you more information. You was working with what you got. So absolutely not the arsehole to me. 100%. But let's check out some comments. Evasive friend says not the arsehole. It seems rude that you cooked a vegan dinner and she didn't eat any of it. What is the problem with olive oil? Twitch OP replies saying not sure, but I assume that she's very conscious of what she eats and anything that has fat in it is a no-go. That or she just thought that shit looked gross. I'm not going to push it. Maximum System 7819 says you're not the arsehole. His girlfriend is out of line for going to a dinner without bringing her own food or explaining her dietary preferences ahead of time. They obviously should have hosted. Your brother is way out of line for not reaching out to apologize to you for how the dinner went down. Sure, your quip was irrelevant, but it was right, and you didn't say it until your brother came at you like you did something wrong by cooking an entire vegan dinner to accommodate his boo. Apprehensive Sand says, not the arsehole, you did accommodate her. You knew she had one dietary restriction, i.e. veganism, and you cooked everything vegan. Not just vegan options, everything was vegan friendly. That's next level accommodation if you ask me. For the record, I'm a vegetarian and I'm used to bringing my own food or sticking to the salads available. I've never been to a non-vegetarian household where they make only vegetarian food to accommodate me, nor do I expect them to. And if it were me, I'd be thanking you for days. That's a really nice thing to do. Now, she has some other dietary restrictions that she didn't tell you about, and then apparently you're the arsehole for not reading minds and just knowing without nobody telling you that she has some other requirements for food. Like, how does that even make sense to your brother? If I were you, I'd be super passive aggressive and say something along the lines of, "I'm so sorry I haven't upgraded my seer abilities yet, and thus was unable to just guess your girlfriend's food restrictions. I will let you know when I'm full on psychic so I can have all the information without anyone telling me, and then you'll be welcome in my house again." Not the arsehole times 4. Your girlfriend is the biggest arsehole, and your brother for enabling her and snapping at you when you were nothing but perfectly nice. Coconut and Potato says not the arsehole. I think it's highly likely that she does have an eating disorder. If she's a picky eater, she should have told you before dinner or bring her own food. And one more from Prior Long Jumping 825 who says not the arsehole. God, does she act that entitled everywhere she goes? You cooked a vegan meal. How are you to know the specifics of what she eats outside of veganism? Because she's clearly just being picky. Shame on you for not using your crystal ball that day. Granted, your response wasn't polite, but still great in my opinion. But there was no need for their dramatics. She didn't have to go home hungry. She chose to. Now, what do you guys make of this one? I think OP was perfectly accommodating in this story, unless I'm missing something here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one. And our next story is from Lopsided Cobbler 9140, titled, "Am I the arsehole for walking out on my job?" I, 29 female, work as a waitress at a restaurant with a point system. It's 1 point if you're late, 3 points to call off with notice, and 5 points for calling off within 4 hours of your shift. This is fine with me as I have no points this year and I've only called off once since 2018. I'm the type who covers shifts, stays late, and generally just go to do my job. Last week, I ended up calling off and was out for a week due to being hospitalized in the ICU with a horrible infection. I let my boss know at 2 AM that I was being sent out by helicopter and kept her informed on everything going on. Today was my first day back. I'm not 100% yet, but like many places, we are short-staffed. When I came in today, I opened and got to work. My boss came in 2 hours later and called me into her office. She informed me that I was getting 8 points, losing my discounts and bonuses for 90 days, and was on probation. I was dumbfounded and told her I wasn't signing the papers as it was out of my control. She said if I didn't, I would be terminated. I told her not to bother and walked out. I'm now getting calls and texts from her and my co-workers saying they need me and I wasn't asked for quitting over something so small. My husband thinks I was in the right because it was ridiculous that I was getting punished for almost dying. Am I the arsehole? Now this is one of those ones that I would love to be like just sitting in the corner to watch that shocked Pikachu face when you got up and said, "Nah, I'm out, don't even bother." And just watch the jaw drop like, "What? You can't do that." But again, there's no way you're going to be the arsehole in this situation. And in some ways, I'm like, good for you for getting out of a shitty environment like that with a toxic manager like that who's willing to treat their staff. You was in a life or death situation by the sounds of it. Being helicoptered, that doesn't sound like it's a small thing at all to me. And then you come back to a manager who's going to treat you like this. That's absolutely disgusting. Especially when you said, you've been the type to work late, to cover other people. You've been an outstanding employee by the sounds of it. And then someone's willing to treat you like that. Absolutely not the arsehole to me. But Linux is best who says, not the arsehole. You were so sick that you needed to be airlifted by helicopter and relocated to seek special treatment outside of where you currently live, which is well outside of your control. Then you went above and beyond by keeping your boss in the loop the whole time as if your boss were part of your family, something you should not have to do. Lastly, as a favour to them, even though you're not 100% better, you still made the effort to come in. And what do? They take away your perks and threaten you with termination. Not only are you not the arsehole, but you should also be proud of yourself. You stood up for yourself, and it would seem you called their bluff since they now want you back. Do not go back. I have a family member, cousin, who is working as a server in a restaurant, diner, and I really would love to see them do the same. And Rays Underwater says not the arsehole times 1000. An employer penalising a staff member in good standing for nearly dying. You were even being considerate enough to communicate during the whole ordeal. Employers keep saying people don't want to work, but then treating them like they're not people. Your country needs more unions. This should never have happened. And Fott Fitzgerald says, not the arsehole, you left a toxic environment and you do not owe those people a thing. Going to the hospital isn't something small and shouldn't be punished. I'm glad you're away from boss and co-workers now. Charms by Snake says, businesses don't give a fuck if people get sick. In my old grocery store in early 2017, I got bronchitis and was having coughing fits so bad it was causing me to vomit. I called into work and got told that's not a reason to not come to work and they could give me a mask. I had called out 2 days and got threatened with suspension the third day if I didn't come in. Ended up getting sent home by the shop steward. The store is a union shop. They do not care if people get sick. Managers are trained to scare sick employees to coming into work. They literally don't care if food gets contaminated and customers get sick. People also have to come to work sick a lot of times because stores/retails don't give sick leave, so people can't afford to miss work. The whole thing is severely fucked up and it's part of the reason so many people get sick. And one more from the Juji Fruta, who says, I'm baffled that OP's boss would be such an arsehole with this in consideration. This is probably the easiest market to find a job in for the past 10 or even 20 years, especially in hospitality industries like serving. Not even kidding, they probably did OP a favour, as she can probably find a much better paying job with a more pleasant working environment quite quickly right now. Now, what do you guys think of this story? What would you do if you found yourself in that position? I find it mind-blowing. There's bosses out there that are willing to treat their staff like that. And I know I'm not stupid enough to think it doesn't happen, because I absolutely know it happens. I've been treated like that myself in the past. But I always find it amazing that these thoughts go through their heads and think that's acceptable. It's mind-blowing. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Savings Art 4469, titled, Am I the Arsehole for bringing my girlfriend to my ex's mum's funeral? I date Annie, 22 female, for 4 months. It was a great relationship, like I felt like she was the one. Then I started to notice things about her that reminded me of a toxic ex, and I broke it off. I'm also 29, so the age gap thing, you know. I needed someone mature. I started seeing Jeanette 3 months after, and we've been going 6 months strong. Annie and I have only reached out to wish each other happy birthday. Annie also knows my sister-in-law through their job. My sister-in-law let me know that her mum had died, and while I don't have any romantic feelings for her anymore, I do care for Annie, so I said I'd go to pay my respects with my sister-in-law and brother. I told Jeanette, who seemed funny at the idea. At first she told me to reconsider, but after talking it over she said it was a very sweet thing to do because we didn't want to give Annie the wrong idea, like I was still into her. I invited Jeanette with me. The whole thing was awkward, painfully awkward and regrettable. It assured me what I already knew, Annie is still very immature. She asked us to leave before the ceremony begun and text my sister-in-law, yelling she shouldn't have let us come, and I'm nothing but a tactless arsehole. I told her later it was to pay respects to her mum, who I knew, and to provide her some comfort, but she still wants to live in the past and not move on. That's not my problem. Am I the arsehole? Gee whiz, you called her immature in this. I think it's quite the other way around. It reminded me of an episode, I don't know if you guys got it in the US, it's called Peep Show over here, and it's basically like 2 guys that live together in a flat and all sorts of crazy stuff happens while they're there, and one of the guys invites this girl to a first date at a funeral, and it just I kind of got that vibe in this situation now, how awkward it was. Not exactly the same scenario as this, but I was still getting those vibes, and I think you're definitely the arsehole in this situation, taking your girlfriend, your new girlfriend, to a funeral of your ex who's grieving at such a young age, and you thought that would be the appropriate thing to do, and you call her immature. But Maximum System says, yeah, you're the arsehole. Go alone to quietly pay respects or send a condolence card. No reason to bring a date when someone so young is grieving such a huge loss. You sound like you might be immature yourself. If there was any confusion, it's not that hard to clear up. For a Lark says, you're the arsehole. Are you kidding me? Annie is not the one who needs to grow up. You took a date to her mother's funeral. Kirsty Iris says, yes, you're the arsehole. Who the hell thinks it's inappropriate to bring a +1 to a funeral? Downtown Law says, info, what the actual fuck were you thinking? Of course you're the arsehole. Do you even need to ask? What the shit? Cycleski says, you're the arsehole. Send flowers or go solo if you guys are on speaking terms. Do not make this the first time your ex meets your girlfriend, if this must happen at all. when they are grieving. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from our very own subreddit r/Mark Narrations. As always, if you feel like it, come get involved. And it's from Skullbone65321, titled, "Would I be the arsehole for blocking a longtime friend for moving out?" First on mobile, so all usual warnings for that, and names are changed. People in this are myself, Liz, 39 female, with anxiety, depression and PTSD, Bob, my fiance, 40 male, our kids B, 17 male, with ADHD, my 17 female with high function and autism, and Jay, our roommate, 47 male, with diabetic. Some background. Bob and I have been together for 13 years now, and even friends with Jay for about 10 years. When my mum moved out, we had a spare room and didn't really need any extra help with expenses. But Jay was talking to me about how the people he was living with were taking advantage of him and such. So after talking to Bob, we offered him the extra room at about half the rent of similar rentals, and some supervising the kids, so we can have date nights once in a while, utilities included. So over the years we had some disagreements and such, but nothing too bad, except one thing. Jay is a bit self-centered and entitled. He does have mental issues, but that's no excuse. Once he told his mum that we let him starve. So when I joked about some groceries, she snapped at me. The joke was about some Kool-Aid he got and always shared it with my kids. Another was a Facebook post saying how Bob and I didn't care about him. We were at my brother's wedding. There are points in time he refused to do any dishes, he does no housework other than his room, no yard work. Claims disability reasons, he is on disability for a few issues that limit him physically, is why we never had a huge issue with it. Bob and myself are having some physical issues as well, that have been limiting, but we get things done with the kids' help. This morning Bob woke me up telling me that Jay is moving out today out of the state to live closer with his family. Bob and I are livid. Due to some events over the years, mainly my decline in health, some complications with kids' disabilities, rent and bill increases, money got tight. He hasn't and probably won't pay rent this month and left us scrambling because rent is due tomorrow. So would I be the arsehole if I block him on social media immediately and after 30 days I block his phone number? Bob thinks it's a bit extreme. I feel I won't be because I don't want to have to hear his BS and be prompted to help a friend who I just feel used us again. For clarification, if he asked for food or let us know his situation, of course we would have fed him, and that we don't care about him is because we don't always include him in our family outings. For the actual question itself, you're not going to be the arsehole in this situation, blocking someone who's going behind your back and saying stuff to other people that you're treating him in a certain way, in a negative way. You don't want to hear that, but it also takes away sort of being able to defend yourself on social media if you want to go down that path. Sometimes you just want to cut it all out and be done with it. So absolutely not the arsehole for blocking someone like that on social media. It sounds like the guy has had a good deal for a very long time and is taking advantage of it now, and complaining because you don't always include him on family outings. It's a family outing. He's not a part of your family. He's just a friend. Well, not even that anymore. And I think in some ways this could be looked at as a positive, that this guy who's paying like not much rent or whatever and isn't doing much is going. You can probably get a proper lodger in now, someone who will pay the full amount of rent, and you'll get a decent income from that to help you with your bills and stuff. I can't really comment too much on the him doing like no housework or no yard work because he's claiming disability, because I don't actually know if he does have these issues or not, and if he does, then I can't really say much about that because I just don't know the severity of them. And I think it'd be harsh for me to say, he should be doing more housework, he should be doing more yard work, because I don't know what his physical limitations are, But if he is perfectly able to and he can do yard work and clean, then yes, it just makes him even more the arsehole, But it's definitely not the arsehole for me. But Brian's Wench says, not the arsehole, only for the simple reason that Jay is leaving without notice and the new month for rent has already started. You two did him a solid to start, and his exit should be the same. Everything in between with you all should have been dealt with when it happened. It sounds like what you had was your typical dysfunctional family situation, and those never seem to separate on good terms. Blocking on social media is a personal thing. All it will accomplish is none of you all will hear about the other firsthand. You'll still, however, get the news and fallout through secondhand sources. If it's meant to go scorched earth, don't forget to block his mama and other relatives, friends, and FMs. Kava says, you said there are points in time where he does no housework, no yard work, and not even dishes. You gave him a sweet deal on rent and utilities, and you expected only a minor amount of babysitting. He couldn't even do that. He pitches a tantrum about not being invited to attend family outings. He makes a habit of shitposting you on social media. Now he's leaving without paying you rent this month, and he didn't even inform you that he was going. Getting screwed out of this month's rent is BS, but this is actually kind of a blessing in disguise. He's lived with you long enough and under such conditions that it would be hard to make him leave any other way. You would have to engage in eviction proceedings otherwise, and that would be far worse and more expensive. And seriously, it's for the best that he is gone. Bob is an adult and he can interact with Jay however he wishes. You can do the same. You want to block him on your social media? Go ahead. Your phone? Yep. Regardless of whether or not you cut ties, you did your part to help him and were taken advantage of in the process. No sob story is going to change that, so stop engaging with his drama. His crises are part of his own making, and if you feel tempted to rescue him again, remember how he left you high and dry without warning. You would not be the asshole to ditch this friendship. And one more from Irish Brigade who says, honestly, sounds like you're better off without this moocher slandering you. No amount of money is worth that kind of stress. Find someone else to rent the room to, someone reliable who won't treat you like shit. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do if you found yourself in that situation with like a mooching lodger? How would you deal with it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Worried Usual 3799, titled, Am I the Arsehole for walking out on dinner with my girlfriend's parents after they said my brother and his husband weren't good role models? I'm 19 male and I was a late in life baby. My older brother, 38 male, was 19 when I was born. Our parents died in a car accident when I was about 6 or 7, and ever since then my older brother and his partner, now my brother-in-law, got custody of me and raised me. They were the best dads I could ever have, and they always did their best to take care of me. Well, for the last 2 months I've been dating this girl, Sarah, 20 female. I really liked her a lot and she's met my brother and brother-in-law, and everything was fine and she didn't seem homophobic. But she hasn't wanted me to meet her parents until recently. 2 weeks she told me that they were coming to visit her this week and that she finally wanted me to meet them. She told me that she didn't want me to tell them that my brother had a husband who helped raise me because her parents wouldn't like that. I told her I wasn't going to lie on my brother like that. She finally relented on it and told her parents herself. The day of the visit, we all went to a steakhouse for dinner, and for the most part the evening went fine, and we had okay conversations until her parents got talking about how I was raised. They started saying things like how nice of a young man I was despite the shortcomings of my home life, or that life couldn't have been easy living with my perverted brother and his friend, and that they were glad I didn't pick up any bad habits. After they started in, I just saw red and slammed the $40 on the table on my meal and just walked out and left. Sarah called me multiple times today telling me I shouldn't have reacted like that and I overreacted, that she told me her parents wouldn't like it. She was mad at me for leaving her there at the restaurant and that I was rude. I asked my brother and brother-in-law about it and they told me they loved me for it, but it was rude and I probably could have handled it better than that. Am I the arsehole? And we'll start off with little Nora, who says not the arsehole. Sarah has accepted, made excuses for, and outright defended her parents' bigotry. Sarah should be ashamed. You were beyond respectful to people who showed no respect to you and your family. You did the right thing by implicitly defending your brother and his partner. Ditch Sarah, she's shown you the type of people that she supports. Just Chilling says, not the arsehole. Tell your former, I hope, girlfriend that you're surprised she turned out so well having been raised by people like that, and that you're sorry she had such a challenging home life. It couldn't have been easy for her growing up with homophobes. Poe Adams says, not the arsehole. You're under zero obligation to tolerate bigots. Ace B says, not the arsehole. It meant a lot to your brother and brother-in-law that you stood up for them. Also, it's time to look for a new girlfriend. Matt Foley says, not the arsehole. They raised you properly and I am a little overwhelmed at the grace they showed with their follow-up comment. I wish I could take you all out for a steak dinner. Second, it might be time to find a new girlfriend. And one more from Patio Gardener, who says, not the arsehole. Like everyone else's has said so far, Sarah and her parents are the major arseholes here. Her parents' bigotry, homophobia and ignorance are awful enough, but her making excuses for it and trying to shame you for not being a doormat and just letting them shit all over you and your two dads is even worse. It's only been 2 months. Dump Sarah and find a woman who loves you and your family, or at the very least isn't a homophobic arsehole. Now let me know your thoughts on this story and all of today's stories and your verdicts if you choose to share them. A huge thank you for spending 20 to 30 minutes of your day with me today and getting involved with the channel. It means the absolute world. As always, I'd just like to mention that we got a little Halloween art-based competition going on. Join our Discord, links down in the description below, and come get involved over there. It'd be lovely to see you, and if you enter as well, prizes being given out and all sorts of stuff. So thank you so much for your love, support and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, much love.